Hello, my beautiful beings of light. So, this is for my neurotypical people out there. First off, if this is your first time seeing me, my name is Janae Robinson of Soul Deep Happy Life Coaching. I'm a spiritual life coach that works with women with ADHD to help them overcome whatever emotional issues that they're having that are often tied to being a woman with ADHD. So, two things that you should say to neurodivergent people that will help them moving forward. If somebody comes to you, a friend, and says, I have ADHD, I have autism, or whatever, even if it's somebody that you don't know, right? If they share that with you, then the one thing you say is, thanks so much for sharing that with me. How are you doing? That's it. Like, very much say thank, because a lot of with when you're on the spectrum, not everybody, I'm not going to speak for everybody on the spectrum, but for me anyway, I didn't even want to admit, and you may find this with quite a few people on the spectrum that you talk to, it took us a while to even admit that we had whatever diagnosis we have. My therapist diagnosed me a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. It took me a year to admit that I actually had it. And I only admitted it to myself because it got so bad that I slipped into like a serious depression and I was overwhelmed. It got really, really bad. So I had to face myself and say, okay, I really do have this. There is um there is a there is a joy in knowing why your brain has been the way it's been as long as it has been, why there are certain things that you do, certain things that maybe you don't get as quickly as other people, or certain things that you said or did that you realized is not what normal people would say or do. Um, and so there's kind of joy in knowing that there's an actual name and there's actually a reason, like a chemical for real reason why it's happening in your brain. But there is also a huge stigma still around mental health in society, no matter where you are in the world, to be honest. Um, and so it takes a while for us to even admit that we have that we even have that diagnosis. So if somebody comes to you and says and tells you that, then thank you so much for telling me. How are you doing? You know, or if you see that they are, I don't want to say in crisis, but if you see what's the situation that they told you around, why did they tell you, right? Because there's never just not a reason. We're not going to automatically, hi, I have ADHD. Like that's not, that's not how we roll. So if we do tell you, it's because we're in the midst of a downside of the diagnosis. Downside meaning there are a lot of positives to having ADHD as far as we're very creative, we're out of the box thinkers. We're like there's numerous great things. Even hyper focusing can be a positive, but there are also negative things. Executive dysfunction, if we're in the middle of an anxiety attack, whatever the case may be. So, in what circumstance was it that they told you that they have this diagnosis? And a lot of times it'll be when they're in the midst of some on the downside of that diagnosis. So, as I said, question, and they tell you whatever it is that they have. Thank you for telling me. How can I help you? What do you need? Right? And if, oh, please do not say when they tell you something, oh, well, that happens. A lot of people have that. That happens to everybody. That is invalidating their diagnosis. It's invalidating the pain that they go through when they're in the midst of the downside of their diagnosis. So do not say that. Yes, everybody deals with a bit of anxiety. Yes, everybody deals with a bit of depression, but it is a whole different level. Yes, everybody deals to where they have stuff to do and they just don't want to move and do anything, but it's a whole nother level when it's executive dysfunction. It's a whole other level. It's a whole other level of feelings. It's a whole other level. Do not say everybody has that, because it's invalidating the feelings and things that we go through when we're in the midst of it. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing is positive reinforcement. If you see us in the midst, if you literally, okay, I know a neurodivergent person, I know when this is like they're struggling, either they're glitching or, as I said, executive dysfunction, whatever it is. Positive reinforcement is so good for us. Actually, even generally, just saying, here's one thing you can say. I'm so glad you're in my life. If it's a friend or family or loved one, I want you to say, I am so thankful that you're in my life. If you ever need anything, tell me. If you see that they're maybe like in a depressed state or something, they're not going to tell you what they want because they don't know what they want. Their dopamine levels have like shot to the fucking bottom, and that's it. So what you can do is look around and see what they need help with. If they're depressed, I guarantee you their house looks a mess. So maybe go over and help them clean up, right? Something simple like that. But positive reinforcement, just generally to your friends who are on the spectrum, is wonderful. Point out what's one great thing about them that makes their uniqueness a positive. Like saying, gosh, I love the way your mind works. Ah, even better. I love the way I'm like thinking of things. I love the way your mind works. I think it's really cool how creative you are. I think it's really, some people on the spectrum of autism are really good with math, right? I think it's really cool how you're so good with numbers, right? And we are also, okay, I'm speaking for me now, but I know quite a few other women with ADHD, people with ADHD who feel the same. We feel that we're a burden for our family and friends because when we're in the downside of our diagnosis, that's what I like calling it. When we're in the downside of our diagnosis, we feel like we're a burden on the people around us, which is probably why almost everybody on the spectrum has suicidal thoughts at any given time. I would never do it, but I know exactly how I would do it. That's everybody, I think, on the spectrum. But we do tend to feel like we're a burden. So we keep things inside. We don't talk about it because what feels like a big thing to us in our heads, we're like, that's like a little thing to them. And we just don't want to worry about it. Other people have their problems. I don't want to add to their problems. So I'm just going to keep it inside. So there's always a fear that, like, not really a fear, but a belief that we're a burden to our family and friends. So just positive reinforcement, pointing out the good things of that person, and saying, I just wanted to say that I love how creative your mind is. I love how, I love how kind you are. We are people on the spectrum are extremely empathic. We may show it in different ways, but we are empathic because we understand what it means for people to not have empathy for us, for people to not have kindness for us. We understand what that is like. And so we are, which is probably why we're such people pleasers, because first off, we want to be liked. Obviously, we want to be liked, but also we know what it's like to not be liked. So we don't want that for somebody else, especially if they're a friend. Yeah, positive reinforcements. Those are the two things. If somebody tells you your diagnosis, thank you so much for telling me. Are you doing okay? How are you? And then the second thing, positive reinforcement. Any time that you can, positive reinforcement. That's it. Okay, I will see you guys next time. Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe. And if you want more information about me, it is all in the description with the links there. I'll see you next time.